Good morning, everybody. I am Lisa Goldberg, and I'm here today for Dunera, for the amazing Dunera project. And this is Angelique Lazarus, who I will talk more about in a minute.
Good morning.
I just wanted to remind everybody to keep going back to the Dunera website, which is dunera.org.au, because there are so many events aside from cooking that you'll want to do every day. They're really, really fantastic, particularly for you people in Melbourne who are sadly confined to your houses for the time being. There's lots of entertainment to take your mind off that. And a reminder that on this Thursday, I am going to be making these fantastic biscotti and showing you step by step, and you can cook along. The ingredients are there if you click on the link. And then on next Thursday, on the 23rd, we have a kitchen extravaganza called Pizza, Parmigiano, and Pavarotti. So we are going to have cooking, opera, and eating. I mean, what more could you want with Ilan Kidron and opera singers, and it's going to be fantastic. So that's 23rd of July, 11 o'clock. All right, so let's start. I would like to tell you about this beautiful lady here. So I met Angelique we worked out about 13, 14 years ago. Our kids, they came from South Africa, and our kids were in the same class at school.
That's right.
And Angelique told me a lovely story, how my son, which makes me so proud, gave him the first party invitation he got when he arrived at school and made him feel welcome.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how much nafas that gives me.
It was very nice. Remembered very, very well. Yeah.
And the boys are still friends, which is amazing. So one thing, when I met Angelique, the first thing I realized about her is that she loves life, and she grabs it with both hands, and she has the most vibrant, full personality of just about anybody I know, I think. And she just fills the room as soon as she walks in. Now she is a renowned colour baker, I've got to say. She is known for baking her own, baking colours to give to friends, and of course, carrot cake baker, which we'll talk about in a sec. So Angelique was born in Melbourne and ended up in Sydney. Now, I also went from Melbourne to Sydney, but I went straight on one flight, which took an hour. So Angelique went from Melbourne to, let me get this right, Holland, Belgium, London, South Africa, Israel, Sydney. So she went the long way, and she'll tell us hopefully about part of that journey. It'll be very interesting. She grew up eating sandwiches filled with sambal olek, which is an Indonesian like chili paste, peanut butter and cucumber. How many of you grew up eating that, I wonder? And she's ended up embracing an amazingly rich and meaningful Jewish life, and all the food that goes with it, of course. And I think that's thanks to, and it's quite incredible, I feel quite inspired by your mother-in-law.
Yeah.
I think you've got a lot, and I'd love to hear more about your mother-in-law, Miriam, and what she's done for your culinary journey. Angelique was also in Monday Morning Cooking Club's very first book back in 2011 with, of course, this carrot cake. And we were really excited when in 2016, Richard Cornish from the Sydney Morning Herald put out a call for the best carrot cake in Australia. And I think we put up your cake. And
I was in Byron at
it won. The cake won. We couldn't believe it. So it is considered officially the best carrot cake in Australia. And this is, I'm calling her this, the Australia's carrot cake queen. And I feel very lucky to be here with not only Angelique, but also the amazing carrot cake. And you're going to see exactly how she does it. So I think we should start cooking, because we've got to get baking so that you see every single step of this. And I just want to say hello to Denise again from Vancouver. So nice that you join us all the way across there. Hope things are going okay in Vancouver for you. All right. So we're going to start by making one cake. You'll be pleased to know we've made a couple, so you'll see all the steps, and we don't have to wait an hour and a half till they come out of the oven.
Some we've prepared earlier.
Okay, so let's start with the ingredients, and I'll hand you over to Angelique, who's going to talk.
Okay, great. So welcome everyone, and I'll go through this as easily understood and slowly and very relaxed. So have your cup of tea or your drink, and let's go. So to start off this cake, we're going to mix it by hand today. And this is a cake that you can easily leave your Kenwood in the corner and do by hand, which also makes it nice. So we're going to start off with one and 1/4 cup of flour. So we are just using normal flour, right? Not self-raising. I do like to sieve it. It's the only thing I actually do sieve, to be honest. So it's one. Lisa, interrupt me at any time you feel.
Don't worry, I will.
As you can see, I'm not that pedantic about scraping off the top. It's a little bit extra. It all kind of works out in the end. But I mean, of course, do follow the measurements as best as you can. This is just me.
I think it's more important to sift it, particularly when you're going to put in other ingredients. Although I usually sift them together, which helps the dry ingredients, which helps mix them together.
I was just trying to be all
So
about it.
I think that, and there is a debate whether sifting flour actually makes a difference to the cake.
I think it actually does, and I have done many. I don't sift my flour for my challah though, I must say.
Yeah.
I actually don't.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But cake, I don't know, maybe in my mind it makes it a bit lighter. Now, for the dry ingredients, you have got a 3/4 of a teaspoon bicarb of soda, which I've actually...
Where is it?
Do I need... Well,
you've done it. Yeah.
Okay, so into this little bowl, I have previously mixed my teaspoon of cinnamon, my 1/4 teaspoon ground nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon allspice. So those are the three. I like to think of them like those Indonesian spices, because that's another thing I grew up with in all the biscuits they used to make. So those are your three brown ingredients in here with your baking soda and also a teaspoon of baking powder.
So this cake uses both baking powder and baking soda. And someone's just asked, are we halving the recipe in the book? So in our first book, we had a very large carrot cake. And then in our fourth book, we decided that a lot of people don't want to make such a huge cake, and that we really should halve it. And now it's a beautiful loaf cake. So it's exactly half, and the icing has changed.
It's a good ISO size. You can eat it yourself without feeling too guilty.
That's right, exactly.
And then also in here, I have got 1 teaspoon of salt. So those are the ingredients in here, which I will, for this purpose, also sieve.
I think that it's a lot of salt for a cake. I was thinking about that. Most cakes have a pinch of salt, but it really needs it for some reason. Maybe all that carrot and, I don't know, it just needs the salt, and it doesn't taste too salty.
I've just got a few granules left, but that's because I used pink Himalayan salt.
Yeah.
Which is still fine. So that's fine. I'm not tipping them in. Right. So I've got all my dry ingredients together, sieved in the bowl, and then we are going to start adding our wet ingredients. Sorry, Lisa, can I just grab a fork? So in here, I have got 2 eggs. Check for blood spots and anything else, which my mother-in-law did teach me. I would have just normally avoided them in, but I have done an egg that was off before, so.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think, imagine if you put them in and you just want the whole mixture if it's off.
So if you're using a mix master, you do not have to beat your eggs. I'm just doing it because I'm doing it by hand and I want it to be all a little bit that way.
So, Shelley asks, do they work in cupcake sizes? Have you ever made them in cupcakes?
I actually have, and it works really, really well. And another thing, the baking time does not vary. So it's interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. So it all kind of goes around board. So I put the egg in, I've mixed it around a bit, sorry. And I have got my 3/4 of a cup of oil.
And what oil do you use?
I use...
there's a lot of debate about oil.
I wouldn't use an olive oil, though I don't see why you couldn't in the long run, but I use a vegetable oil or sunflower. I think for me, that's the oil I tend to use in all my cakes.
I've been using grapeseed oil for a few years, but I read an article last month that talked about a study where actually grapeseed oil was one of the worst when you cook with it, and it was supposed to be one of the best. So I don't really know what to believe. So I've actually gone to light olive oil for my baking now. Have you used light in this? I can't remember. No, I think I used grapeseed in this, actually. What about avocado oil? Yeah, Kim, avocado oil you could definitely use in this. And that is supposed to be one of the healthiest oil, like it won in all the tests. Avocado oil. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Go.
No, don't be. So part of my wet ingredients, I put in the oil, I put in the egg, and I am putting in the sugar, which is also 3/4 cup of superfine caster sugar. It does seem like a lot of sugar. If you wanted to, you could use less, and it would not affect the actual cake itself. So it's a very personal thing. I do measure that quite precisely, though, the sugar.
Do you use caster for baking all the time? Or no. You, white, whatever?
White, yeah. Although I don't know, what is the theory? If you're using caster sugar, is it less sugar than granulated sugar?
No, it's the same, but the theory is that it dissolves better in the cake.
Yeah.
And because the granules are smaller, but I actually don't think you could tell the difference between a cake made with white sugar and a cake made with caster sugar. But we've just got used to making it.
You've just got this in the end. There is no rhyme or reason what you would add first out of the eggs or the thing. This is actually the first time I've done it like this. So I'm sure it's really going to work out great.
So how do you normally do it?
Well, I would normally do it in the mix master.
Yeah. But the same order of things.
But the same order of things, yeah.
So I do it differently because but you're the queen. So actually I'm going to change my method. I do, of course, the dry ingredients in one bowl, the wet ingredients and the carrots and everything in one bowl, and then I mix the two. Okay.
Now we are going to, in the machine, I would actually, here's my carrot. The only thing about the carrot, I actually got a new grater, and the grating is slightly different than I would normally have it. I think it's slightly bigger, but it doesn't matter.
Do you know what I noticed about it? It's flatter. Like it's finer that way.
It's super
fine.
It's one of those fancy graters that will take your hand off if you're not careful, you know? Yeah. But it's slightly different than the way I normally grate. I would do this in smaller batches just to get a good incorporation, because the only wet ingredient I've actually got now left is my pineapple.
Yeah. This is 250 grams of carrot, which is about 2 big carrots.
And so I'm adding my pineapple. So it's a 1/4 cup drained tinned pineapple. If you buy pineapple slices, just zoom it. Don't do it super fine. It's not meant to be a pulp. And the reason I think for this is in the eating in your mouth afterwards. You want that more little bit of chunky bits in there. Because you can buy pre-crushed up.
Yeah, so I buy the cans of crushed pineapple, and the problem with those is that it comes in a 450 gram can, which you only need 1/3 of for this. So this is a drained weight that's in the recipe. It's 70 grams or 1/4 cup. So what I did yesterday when I was making the one we're gonna ice is I drained the whole can. I weighed out my amount for this cake, and then I weighed out 2 more amounts of 70 grams, put it in a little plastic tub, labeled it, and put it in the freezer. So next time I make the carrot cake, I've got the pineapple already ready.
That's clever.
Yeah. See, now it's perfect, this consistency.
Okay, so if you are worried that it looks a bit glumpy and a bit coagulated, when you start working the pineapple and the carrot, the wetness of it creates the moisture. It's just a very lovingly put together cake. We are now going to add the chopped pecan nuts. So it's 3/4 cups of pecan nuts. Also, again, I haven't made it too fine. This is absolutely personal. You can really blitz it and have it a powder. You can leave some chunky bits in for a nice little surprise. All depends on what you like to eat. So that's going in there. And that is my last ingredient that's actually going into the actual cake. So it's got a nice, wetter, moisture batter about it now.
It's really lovely now.
But you really do need to just fold it around for I don't know, a couple of minutes, because the flour is now soaking up all the moisture and it's now becoming like a batter.
Yeah.
And you want it this runny consistency. If it's drier than this, then maybe something has gone amiss somewhere. And in that case, I'd probably add maybe a drop more oil.
Yeah, but it should be fine if you follow the recipe exactly. Okay, Denise said, can you leave out the nuts? Yes, I think
yes,
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you could substitute it for another type of nut. I saw someone ask before the difference between walnuts and, what are these called?
I think we have a problem person there. Sorrel, if you can just do something about that.
Hi.
Okay, so back to nuts. So I didn't have enough nuts yesterday at home, so I just used what I had, walnuts, which is probably half of the measurement. Yeah. But it really doesn't matter. It's just going to change the texture of the cake in the end, but not the whole cake itself.
Yeah, you don't need to have nuts in it at all. It can just be the actual carrot and thing. So this is the consistency, if you can see, that I'm really happy with now, Lisa.
Beautiful.
It looks like it could have been made in a mix master.
I love a cake that can be made with one bowl and one spoon. I have to say, it just, as much as I love my mix master, it's nice to be able to do this.
No, it is. And the smell is absolutely gorgeous. Those spices just waft up. It's beautiful. Right. Now I feel amazing. I have to check that we've done it all.
Yeah, okay. So we'll run through the dry ingredients again. We have got 1 1/4 cups of plain flour, 1 teaspoon baking powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. And remember, they're different things and can't be interchanged. 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/4 of a teaspoon of allspice, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And that's all the dry ingredients, which Angelique put in first. And then the wet ingredients, we've got 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 3/4 of a cup of oil, and 2 eggs. We've got 1 1/2 cups, 250 grams of grated carrot, 2 large carrots, 70 grams of drained tinned crushed pineapple. So that's the drained weight, and 3/4 of a cup of chopped pecans. Good question, Eve. Do you squeeze the juice from the carrots?
No, I don't. I don't find when you grate it, for me, I don't let it sit, to be honest. I kind of do it and then chuck it straight in. So for me, there is no
I mean, they were sitting for a while.
Yeah, so this was sitting for about an hour before Lisa came, and there's actually no moisture in here at all. Yeah. I don't know if it's because of my new grater or...
I think it's not quite like potatoes or apples that you grate them and all the juice comes out.
Yeah. So, and in regards to the pineapple, I just put it in a sieve and I leave it over a cup. But I don't actually take the pineapple and squeeze it like you would for tzatziki cucumber. Yeah. So it goes in quite moist, and I think that just adds to the moistness of the cake. Yeah. So I've never squeezed it out, and I've never had an issue with it being too wet on the inside or not evenly distributed either. So.
Yeah. So Tammy asks, when we say mix master, do we mean stand mixer? Yeah, we mean stand mixer, not a food processor. Yeah. With probably the paddle. I use that. She uses the whisk. So either one would work, I think. Yeah. So that's the stand mixer, which is a KitchenAid or a Kenwood or whatever you might have. Diane wants a repeat of the dry ingredients. They will be posted. I think we'll leave it for now. I don't know if your comment came before we went through them again, but they will be on the Dunera website, I think, when you go and have a look afterwards. And this will be available to watch later as well.
And the pineapple is 1/4 cup. So it's literally that much. It's not a lot.
Yeah. I think you used to be able to buy little tiny cans of it way back, but now they just have the bigger ones.
You can buy the canned, and it's 2 slices of pineapple, which is still a little bit too much. So it's like a nice spoonful for you and the rest goes in the cake. But that you would have to either finely chop or blitz it. But when you blitz it, you got to be careful because it turns into a pulp within a second, and then you've just got moisture.
Yeah. So Marilyn, so we said the amount of pineapple, 1/4 of a cup. Okay, so this is now going to go in a tin. Let's talk about tin. So what tin are you using?
Well, Lisa, pretty much the tin you've got there, to be honest. I have got...
This is what I call a large loaf tin. I've got small and large, and this is sort of my slightly larger one.
And then this is like a flatter one, only because I've used my larger one, which is in the oven as we speak. Yeah, but we're going to give this a go, and I'm perfectly okay with that. So what we're going to do is we are going to take, I'm just using my coconut oil spray. It can be olive oil. You could butter your dish beforehand. You can, in these non-stick tins, just be okay with a butter or a light oiling and put your cake in, and voila, when it's cold, it will come out nicely with a bit of a help from a spatula on the side. Or as Lisa has done, which I like very much, which I'm actually going to do today, I'm going to spray it with a little bit just so that my baking paper will adhere nicely in it, and then lift it out later.
Yeah, I also quite like serving a cake on the baking paper.
100%.
So I would take that out and put it on the serving plate. I set, and there it is. It looks very rustic, and it looks like you just baked it, which you did.
I do like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. My husband will be happy. He does all the cleaning up in the kitchen and the scrubbing of cake pans. So David says thank you. I'm just going to go.
Okay.
Give this a stretch.
Candy wants to know, have you ever used fresh pineapple?
That's a very good question. No, I haven't, but I don't see why that wouldn't be absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would experiment in a way, because you're going to make this cake your own. And if you change it by X amount, you could be in the next cookbook with it. You could take and just cut it on the side, like have little slivers almost of the fresh pineapple. I think it'd be delicious. No, I might try that. That's a good idea. Did I do that? No, I had it the other way, didn't I?
Yeah, okay. There you go. So baking paper is going in.
Okay, baking paper is going in. Lisa cut it very professionally. I'm just putting the sides down as best as I can so you don't get an ugly crinkle in the corner.
I don't love those crinkles in the corner, I must say.
No, it doesn't look professional, but seeing we're going to be serving it on this, I think it's all good.
So Denise said she knows someone who uses fresh pineapple and the cake is good.
Yeah, I imagine it'd be delicious. Fresh is best, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know for this necessarily.
No, I just said that. And it's from Queensland, right? Your pineapple. So I'm originally from Bundaberg, Vegas.
Oh, I didn't have Brisbane in the list.
No, I was made there, but born in Melbourne.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, that's good to know. All right.
All right.
So once this cake goes in the oven, let's put it in.
Okay, so we just give it one quick last whiz up, and happy that everything is incorporated in there. It looks absolutely beautiful and moist. And in it goes. Oops.
You can see how easy it is. One bowl and one spoon.
Look
it's really good.
Hardly any tidying up.
And I wish you could all smell it. The spices are so strong in this and so lovely. My mouth's watering already.
Yeah, well,
just looking at the batter. Nessie.
Et voila. I'm happy with that.
So Nessie, sorry, I don't understand your question. Sell flour over plain flour and leave out the baking paper.
The baking, self-rising flour. Leave
out the baking powder. Yeah.
Do you know the measurements? I wouldn't do that because even though self-rising flour is normal flour with baking powder and salt, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I don't know the quantity that is in there. You could give it a try for sure.
I think what you could probably do is use self-raising flour and add, I think you make self-raising flour from 1 cup of plain flour with 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I may be wrong. So you could use self-raising flour, but you'd still need to add the bicarb of soda because that gives a different sort of rise, and that bicarb reacts with anything that's acid, and there's pineapple in this, and that's what does it. So I think you need the bicarb. It has a particular special thing about it for the cake. So that's what I would do if you're set on self-raising flour.
Or if you you're in isolation and you have nothing but self-raising flour.
And if you have no baking soda and just self-raising, just use self-raising and it'll be fine.
Just do it.
All right, shall we pop that in the oven and then we'll talk about the secret part of this cake.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
we've got 5 minutes.
We've got 5 minutes. Okay, so that can go and we can just, all right. So we're going to chat for a minute because we're just waiting for the cake to come out of the oven. Do you make the glaze first though, before? This cake has a glaze.
I use the 35 minutes that my cake is in the oven to tidy up a little bit and make my glaze.
So let's make the glaze now and then we'll have it ready when the cake comes out.
All right, perfect.
So this is, I don't know any other, sorry, Carol, yes, the cake has got 2 eggs in it. It has 2 eggs with the wet ingredient. No, we did do the 2 eggs, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so please type your questions. Tamia said, so that everyone can see the questions in the chat bar, can you change to all panelists and attendees so that everybody can see the questions? Yeah, great idea. The default blue bar is just to all panelists. Okay, great. Okay. Have you done a sourdough workshop from making the starter? Have you ever done a sourdough workshop?
No, but there is quite a few of my friends have. I have. Mine got to about 5 days old and then I just couldn't babysit her anymore and I got rid of her. But it's not difficult to get a sourdough starter going. And there's great online
I think courses. Online would be fantastic. All right. Can we make the cake gluten-free?
Can you make a challah gluten-free?
People do.
They do. It's I've never done it. I think it would be denser type of cake and not as high.
I think it would be worth trying actually because it's not like a cake with a crumb like a butter cake that you really need the texture that it is. It's very dense. It's got fruit and nuts in it. So I think it would be worth a try.
Yeah.
I don't know if you might want to add an extra bit of baking powder just to give it more of a rise.
I think that's,
I think it's worth trying and let us know how you go.
Yeah.
Okay, the oven is on 180 degrees. Is that right?
I did preheat my oven a little bit before I popped it in. So it goes into a
hot oven.
A hot oven at 180. And it really is, in my opinion, pretty spot on the 35 minutes, because the 35-minute cook, don't even insert your stick in it to see if it's cooked, because it's not. You are taking it out still raw in the middle. You're putting on your topping, and then you're cooking it for a further 15 minutes. And that last 15 minutes is when that middle bit just kind of comes together. You can then check your cake. Obviously, it shouldn't be moist and sticky and peanut butter and glaggy on the end, but you'll know. And it should be a moist cake, because if you go over this cake, in my opinion, it does go dry quite quick when you overcook it.
I always lean to under than over.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather an undercooked than an overcooked cake.
But it's a fairly spot on reason. A lot of my friends have said, oh, it needs to be longer. My oven is pretty spot on. And I'm sure, ladies, you know your ovens, you know your hot spots, your good spots. And
do you use fan forced? Or
I do.
Yeah,
I do. So it's fan forced 180 all the way, 35 minutes, and then we take it out, leave your oven on, close the door straight away to retain the heat. Pop on your glaze, which we're going to show you now.
Let's talk about the glaze. And this is what makes this cake different to any other carrot cake, the glaze. And I think it's something that you don't want to miss out doing. I mean, if you did want to not do it, it would be fine.
100%. 100%.
This makes it really special.
Like a little surprise in your mouth, right?
Talk glaze.
Right. So in a saucepan, any type of saucepan, you could use a high frying pan even, because it's not that much. So we are going to put, let's start with the oil. I'm just going to get that again. Sorry, Lisa.
That's right. And you can see, I'll show you the cake. This is the cake that I made yesterday. It has got the glaze on the top of it. It's like a caramel toffee type of texture with nuts in it. I didn't have pecans, so I've used walnuts. And it looks fantastic and smells amazing. Such a great recipe. Be careful with this glaze, because it's a very small amount. So you don't want to leave it cooking, because it'll burn in a second.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. This is my measurement. This is 1 tablespoon. It had a stick on it, which has been eaten by the incinerator. Be careful when you cook with small things. So it is a tablespoon of oil.
I remember the first time I cooked at my mother-in-law's house back in the day. I dropped her measuring spoons down the incinerator, and they were plastic, and they just disintegrated.
Okay,
and
I had this forever. Look at it.
Couldn't believe I did that.
I've only got this one left in the teaspoon. I don't know what happened to the other measurements. So anyway, this is vegetable oil made in Australia.
Yeah.
And milk.
So it's very strange, isn't it? It's oil, milk, sugar, and nuts.
So, and it's 1 tablespoon of milk. Now, with the, I have made the glaze before in a half portion. If you dribble over your spoon and use a little bit extra, it will not matter at all in the glaze, because there is quite a lot of dry ingredients. So it's a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Now, I use that very heavy brown sugar. You can use the brown granulated sugar, but it gives it a totally...
Oh, that's our alarm.
That is our timer, Lisa.
Yeah. Do you want me to get it out?
Yeah, but here, do you need these?
Yeah, thanks. All right.
Okay. It's not called Dunera sugar, is this?
Demerara.
No,
this is dark brown.
This is dark brown sugar. So we are using a 1/4 cup of... that looks good, Lisa. Lisa's just going to show you. Here's one we made earlier.
It looks beautiful. I have to say, just to have an aside, these are the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because they're wide.
Yeah.
Mine are like this.
No.
Where's this from?
This is from the Junction, the kitchen shop.
Oh, this is really... And
I like them because the hands aren't big, are they?
It's really good. And they've got these rubber bits to stop from slipping. And it's longer than most. Oh, I love it. I'm definitely going to get this. If anyone wants to know, it is called Cuisina. Yeah, okay, go back to the glaze.
Right, okay, so we have in the glaze, we have put a tablespoon of oil, a tablespoon of milk, and a 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar. And we are putting in, it says optional, but I think it's an actual must, is the chopped pecans, because it's going to go on the hot cake, which we now have to do. Hang on. All right, hang on. Sorry. I seem a bit unorganized. Yeah.
That's right. Do you want the pecans? They're here. I know you got them chopped already.
All right.
She's on top of it.
So,
do you always have chopped nuts just hanging around?
I did chop these up for us today, but yes, okay. I do. So we are putting in 20 grams of chopped pecan nuts, which is
not very much.
It's 3/4.
No, it's like a very small amount. 20 grams. I don't actually know what it is in.
I feel bad now. Must I get my scale out?
Well,
I do want to do this properly, ladies.
I would say it's probably like less than 1/4 cup, actually. I think 100 grams might be a cup. I don't know. We'll have to check in a sec. What have we got for the other ones? Let's have a look at the cake. Oh, yeah, here we go. 100 grams is 3/4 cup. Oh, so it's a fifth of 3/4 cup, which is about 2 tablespoons. It's about 2 tablespoons of pecans. See how handy maths comes in cooking?
I know, right? Very good. I'll tell you exactly how many grams.
Venetia, would non-dairy milk work? Yes, absolutely. Could you use soy or almond milk? Yes, you could. Yeah, a lot of people have asked that, of course, because the cake is not dairy. So it seems a shame, although the icing is dairy.
Okay, 20 grams is, I'd say 1/4 cup of nuts in your glaze. Yeah. And that is a nice topping. Yeah. Now, if you, I'm going to chuck in just a couple, like 3 of whole ones, which I'm just cracking in half.
Because you want the whole nuts on the top. I want that on the top. Yeah. The thing about using non-dairy milk, if you're trying to make it parav, the icing is cream cheese, and so you really can't avoid it. I guess you could make it without the icing, but I think the icing really makes this cake fantastic. So I would stick with that. So Angelique is cooking in the background. She is it just takes a minute. She's stirring it.
I'm just heating up the glaze. You don't have to bring it to the boil with the oil and the milk because you're just going to lose it. And besides, our cake is waiting for us. A bit naughty of me.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea is to make your glaze beforehand and have it ready just when the cake comes out of the oven.
Now, the good thing is that it takes seconds to make this glaze. So what I've got here is all the ingredients, which I'm just going to put on top of the cake that has come out of the oven at 35 minutes. So we still have 15 minutes of cooking time with whatever you want. A silicone brush, a spoon, not your fingers, of course.
My quantity was a little bit less than yours seems to be.
Okay, were
you over generous?
I was over generous. I was trying to show off, sorry. When I make the full-size cake, I sometimes naughtily double the recipe for the glaze. Yeah. And people always say, oh, it's so luscious.
I think you can't have
Lisa,
too much of it, actually.
Can you just show that? So, okay, I have now, try and keep your big bits in the middle of the cake because they just are the first to get picked off by the family when this comes out. So there you go. And in again.
Thanks.
Well,
yeah, okay. You put your timer on for 15.
Right. So, cake's back in the oven. Sorry, guys. This is my first time. Lisa's very organized.
No, it's all good.
I feel I'm letting you down a bit here.
Don't be silly. This is perfect.
15 minutes on my timer. And there we go.
Okay. So, Diane's asked about the tin. Look, we're using 3 different tins today, and it just does not matter.
It doesn't.
It's any loaf tin. It'll just be higher or lower. It really doesn't matter. This is the biggest one that I've got. I've got smaller ones, and it will just be higher.
Which is a bit smaller, isn't it?
It really doesn't matter what size. Can you use ground rather than chopped nuts in the glaze?
Don't see why not.
But you won't get. See, what you won't get is the texture of the nuts, because when you ice this cake and you cut a slice, you get this
a little crisp,
crunchy layer of surprise.
It's like a candied. It's like a candied little nut you get in your mouth. The icing does. It's crisp when it comes out of the oven at first. So if you wanted to serve it without the icing, you could do that as well. It just looks beautiful. It's just a gorgeous cake. Yeah. So for those who are asking, the recipe will be posted on the Dunera website, and you can watch this video again to make sure you've got everything. Okay. So that's in the oven for the last 15 minutes. We'll have to make the icing, but we'll do that in a minute because I actually do want to have a chat to you because I think it will be really nice to hear a little bit about Angelique's story because it is very interesting from the Sambal Oleg
to the, what did you tell me about yesterday? Your borscht. So she's really, so just tell us please about your early years and your journey around the world, I guess, as a young person.
Well, I was born in Melbourne, and I was actually adopted, long story, but the people that adopted me took me back to Europe. My dad was Indonesian and my mother was Dutch. So, and we lived in Holland and Belgium for many, many years before coming back to Australia. But my mum and dad just loved cooking. And there was always Suriname's rice tafel, Indonesian. So a lot of that type of food, nasi goreng, barmies, sambal ulegs, pisang, which is bananas, fried ice cream. And there was a lot of entertaining. So I grew up with a lot of diverse food. And in Holland, I learned to love herring, which we used to eat out of big vats out on the street. They used to have big herring, still with the bone running down the middle, raw, slap it through some onion, and you'd pull it off.
Amazing.
In Amsterdam and Etteleur, Rotterdam, where I lived. And yeah, lots and lots of food. And my dad actually stopped working and he went back to chef school, and my mum supported us. She was a nurse. Very simple people, but with a love for food, love for entertaining, and a love for traveling. And we went to, well, my brother and sister and myself went to a lot of different schools, and we ended up back in Australia, and my parents ended up going their separate ways, which was quite sad. So I left school too early, and I started traveling around the world. And I think I was exposed to a lot of different people, a lot of different foods, traveled America for many years, and ended up in London, where I met my husband.
Which was probably the most life-changing thing.
I think it was. Meeting David he was Jewish. I was not. I was a good Catholic girl. And I think as soon as I actually sat at one of the first Shabbos tables with him and his family, for me, that was just incredible, just to see, the food was brilliant. And I took to it so quickly. I mean, the gefilte fish and the chopped liver, and I loved all of that.
And I guess, as well as that, the feeling of family around the table.
Very, very much so. Because I think I'd come from such a close-knit Catholic family. So when my family unit fell apart, that was just devastating. So, the Judaism aspect just really spoke to me. It was very, very beautiful. And I moved to Israel for a couple of years and converted.
Did you convert while you were in Israel? Was that
I lived on a religious kibbutz for 2.5 years in Ashdod.
By yourself?
By myself.
Amazing.
Kvutzat Yavne. So all the pickles in the jars and the olives and the hot chilies. If you look at the jar, it says Kvutzat Yavne. That's my kibbutz.
And how was that time for
Fantastic.
you?
Best years of my life. 2.5 years I was there. I was very dati, very religious. And I nearly didn't even marry David. I saw him twice in 2.5 years.
It's amazing.
While I was on kibbutz, actually. I loved it. It was very, very special. And that was it. And I left there and moved to Johannesburg.
Right.
I actually lived with him in Zimbabwe for 3 years as well. And then we moved to Johannesburg, got married. My mother-in-law, she's just an incredible woman. She actually lives in Israel and in Johannesburg. And
so where was she at this time? Was she in Israel when you were there?
No, she was. His parents also got divorced, actually. And she moved to Israel like the second day after they got divorced.
Right.
And he stayed in Johannesburg. And she kind of took me under her wing. I mean, she would spend a lot of time in Johannesburg, and especially when we had children, she'd move back more and more and more.
I think that's an amazing part of the story for me, to hear how Miriam, Angelique's mother-in-law, really brought her in and taught you. I mean, you told me she taught you everything, about
She did.
Jewish
She
life.
did. I mean, gefilte fish I can make from scratch, and borscht, beetroot soup, and Floman simmers, the old-fashioned way. She was from Lithuania. She's got an even more incredible story, because she's actually one of the youngest survivors of the Kovna ghetto. And she has written a book, and her story is just very, very beautiful. And she taught me everything I kind of needed to know about just what it's like, I think, being born Jewish. Because for me, it was like I was perhaps in another life. I mean, for me, it's just natural. It all comes natural. The food, the sayings, the everything. So yeah,
it's a beautiful
makes me
story.
feel a bit like nostalgic when I talk about it.
I think it's quite beautiful to hear the story of Miriam. It's always stuck with me from the first time you told me.
I've got pictures of me in this kitchen with my daughter and Miriam rolling balls, making knedel and everything. So it's very special. So cooking is something I absolutely love, and I embrace it, and I just love it.
Tell us about your challah baking, because she's actually become known for challahs in this part of town.
My challah baking is also interesting. Well, it's actually the recipe out of the book, the very first book. It's Chani Wolf's recipe, and I was actually taught the recipe. I was actually taught how to make challah by Paula Horwitz. She was the first person that showed me how to make it. And I've never looked back. From the moment I made it, I just knew, yes, this is my legacy. I'm going to be that woman that the kids are going to say, Boba made the best challah. And I remember the smell of the kitchen. I'm going to be that woman. And
you are.
And I am. And if you invite me for Shabbos, I will bring challahs. But I happily show people how to make them. And I love it.
And I know she taught a couple of my friends on Friday morning how to make it. And they were so excited to actually create it themselves. And I've spoken about it before many times, how people think making challah is hard, but you do it 2 times, 3 times, it becomes second nature to just throw everything in, make it.
100%.
Do you do it by hand or in the machine?
I do it by hand. I've never done the machine. I make it. I've got these beautiful big metal bowls that I brought with me from South Africa, those big enamel ones.
Yeah.
I make it every single Friday. It takes me literally 10 minutes. And the part that takes the longest is letting the yeast have a little dance with the sugar and the hot water. But I love it. And then my daughter knows how to make it. And if I go away, I'll make sure that there's some dough in the freezer for the boys to make it. So my family doesn't go without a challah. But it's super easy. You should do a lesson with that.
Yeah, I would love to. We'll do. Maybe we'll bring you along to do a challah.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it. Let's have a quick look at
tell
the time.
us
We've got
about,
6 minutes
tell
to
us
go.
about and then we'll ice it.
Yeah.
Tell us about the carrot cake, where it came from.
Well, the carrot cake actually came from a guy in South Africa, Manu Kulentianos, who is godfather to my middle son, Daniel. So Manu has got several successful restaurants in South Africa, and his signature cake was the carrot cake in the round angel tin loaf. And I just started making this cake. I mean, we're talking 25 years ago. And as I made it, I would just, as you do with any recipe, you change a few things, it becomes your own after a while, you get to be known for it. But yeah, so that's how I've made the cake. But it's something I've made, it's my go-to, it's what I get asked for whenever I go, and it's a beautiful cake.
Someone's at the door. Maybe they're coming for cake. All right, I'm going to start taking this out of the tin now. Just cutting the sides because I didn't baking paper the sides.
It's very topsy-turvy. Wow, that looks incredible.
So that's the cake. And now Angelique is going to talk icing, because the icing is something you want to dive into. It is so delectable.
It is such a beautiful cake.
Thank you.
Hey, I can feel it.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this glaze on top, I mean, this is, if you make this in your house, the kids, husband, yourself, will be eating these little crusty bits of the side. It's just delicious.
Yeah, it really is. I can actually taste it in my head. I can imagine I remember what it tasted like.
It's a heavy cake too, isn't it?
It's just delicious, that crisp layer.
There's a lot of goodness in there.
Goodness, yeah. There is a lot of goodness. It's almost a health food, actually, because it's just vegetables, really.
It's now classified.
It's just like carrot and eggs, right?
Yeah, it's healthy.
It's actually healthy.
It is. It's mandatory. Right.
And you could serve it just like that. If you wanted to make it non-dairy, you could absolutely serve it like that.
Yeah.
It would be lovely.
It doesn't. Look, the icing is pure indulgence.
Yeah. So let's talk icing.
Right, let's do icing. Now, the icing is, I am going to have to go across and just use the machine for that. It's a cream cheese-based icing. Everyone has got their own icing that they love, whether you zest a bit of lemon into it or orange, vanilla essence. I like to, because I feel there is quite a bit of sugar in this cake, I do like to mix sour cream with my Philly cream. I just think it makes it a bit sour, but it's a total personal choice. So we put this cream cheese icing in because it's the one I use for it, but I think everyone, you can use whichever one you want, right?
I just saw that Mariana asked if you could put lemon zest in to cut through the sweetness.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that the sour cream does it. Like my icing is different every single time I make this cake because sometimes I don't even use icing sugar. It is a bit sloppier then, and then I would suggest to serve it as you cut it, like give people the option, which I often do as well. Like I'll serve this on a Friday night and serve the icing on the side. Idea. Yeah, which if you've got a very loose icing, it can be nice. You could serve that with a custard.
Lots of ways.
You will make this yours and do with it what you want to do. I think in the end, right?
Right, let's get on to the icing.
Okay, so can I make a bit of noise?
Yeah, she's going to make a bit of noise. I don't know if you can hear me over the machine, but I just want to say the most important thing when you're making a cream cheese icing is to have the cream cheese at room temperature. Otherwise, it's never going to soften and you're just going to have lumps going around. So I hope you can hear me. Any questions while Angelique is mixing? She is doing this in the electric beater. She's got the whisk attachment in the stand mixer, I should say. You could do it with a handheld. She's whisked the cream cheese just till it's not particularly light, is it? You haven't over...
No.
She's just whisked it till it's smooth. And now
I did start using it at room temperature, and I have cut it into little blocks because Lisa told me to do that. And it does mix a lot better. I'm one of those cooks that will just chuck the block in from the fridge and then sat there with lumps and probably have to pass it through the sieve. I do stuff like that. But, in this case, leave it out from the night before even. I mean, in this cold weather, it's not going to go off. Have it nice and room temperature. You'll get a smooth and nicer and a more professional looking cake, which is you don't want lumps in it.
Yeah.
So I've got the cream cheese, room temperature chopped, which I have slightly bit. Now we're going to put in half a cup
of sour cream.
Now the sour cream I'm using is just a Buller sour cream. No, it's not.
No, it's not. But she actually... we were talking about it yesterday. She loves Buller, and I agree with her. I think the Buller is outstanding.
But this one is Buller Light, and with your cream cheeses, 100%. Use light, use full cream. It doesn't matter. I do use full cream milk and everything. I do that. Yeah.
All right.
That's
so let's
for
put
the light
cream
cream.
in and get mixing. Here we are. Got this one.
Half a cup.
So she's just whisking the cream cheese, adding in the sour cream. And what's interesting about this, what's interesting about this icing is I don't think it's got a lot of sugar in it compared to normal icing.
And you can also lessen that if you want.
You can, absolutely. There's 100 grams of sugar, icing sugar, and some vanilla. Do you put vanilla in?
I haven't. You can.
Okay, somebody's asked if you can use quark cottage cheese. Yeah, it's like a farm cheese sort of thing.
I know that. I used to drink quark when I was a little girl as well. It's like soured milk, but then you could.
But it's also a cheese, but it's
quite sour. Cheese. They used it on MasterChef the other day.
I think it'll be completely different I think this is a cream cheese icing. So if you're doing the cream cheese icing, I think it's really best to use cream cheese for this one. You could use Philadelphia, which most people use, or cream cheese bought from the good delis also sell cream cheese. Okay, it's one block, 250 grams of cream cheese, half a cup of sour cream, 100 grams, which is 2/3 of a cup of icing sugar, and a little bit of vanilla extract, just half a teaspoon. And that's all whisked together till you get a really lovely, you'll see in a minute, smooth and luscious icing. That's going to go. And it's a very generous amount of icing for this cake. Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to leave you and get the cake and bring it back.
I can do that if you want to do that.
All right. Coming back. Okay. Right. So I think that's ready. A little bit more.
Oh, see, now this is always the question, isn't it?
So it's hard with the glaze because you can't feel like you normally can. It's a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'd stick it in for a bit longer. This is the first time I've done it in the low tip. I think that's 5 minutes for it. Okay.
Right. So icing's being made, cake's gone back in the oven, and we're going to ice it and eat it in a minute, and you'll see how absolutely delicious it is. Okay, so how's that going? Ready?
We are ready.
Just want to report that Angelique is licking her fingers because this icing is irresistible, actually. Yes, so Leah said, no, the first book is not a typo. The first book's icing was different back in the day. That was 2010 that we put that recipe in.
Yes, we far healthier now.
And she has evolved it over the years. And so it's also half the size, and it is different. It's a different icing with the sour cream. So it's not a typo, it's a different thing.
It was...
Can we have a look at the icing?
You can. Lisa, would you do me the honor of icing the cake?
No, you're doing it.
Really?
Yeah, it's all yours.
Okay, this is the icing that we've got today. So it is really smooth. There's no lumps in it. And that is purely... I did not sift the icing sugar into the mixture. It's due to the cream cheese being room temperature and beaten first. Yeah. So that it's, and don't overbeat it, not that you can, but just beat it until it's nice and fluffy. And then you add your sour cream, which is also room temperature. And it can get a little bit runny, but then don't worry about it because you're putting in your icing sugar. I like to use
icing mixture.
The soft icing mixture. You've got the other one that comes in the purple bag, which is just a bit harder.
It is.
And that can go a bit lumpy sometimes. So I like the soft one. And because it's only 100 grams, it's not too much. So you've got your icing.
Oh, it looks so good.
Right, now, we're gonna, do you want to put that on? Are you taking this one home?
Yeah, I'd love to take this home.
Well, then it's yours to take home. Okay, now.
Look at that.
With the icing, I'm just going to liberally dollop it all the way on top. I am going to use the whole thing.
It is a very generous amount of icing. And if you look at that and freak out, just do half. You know, it's really up to you, but I love it. The icing makes it actually.
It is just beautiful and decadent. Now you can ice it however you want. You can do it all around the sides. I just like to do it in a nice swirly pattern.
I knew you'd do it beautifully.
And off it goes. And then bits might come up underneath, but that is the beauty of this cake.
It's a beautiful cake. And remember, you must wait till your cake is completely cool.
Otherwise it will just slide off.
It's terrible. You know, we've all done it in a hurry and it's not a good idea.
Okay. And this...
Now, do you keep that in the fridge now that you've got cream cheese?
No, I actually don't. And I know... well, it doesn't last long enough in my house, number one. So it sits right here on the counter and everyone just helps itself and it will probably be gone by tomorrow night. And this cake is good for, what would you say?
It doesn't last. That's the problem because you eat it in the first day.
Okay, so it doesn't last.
I would think 3 days, but I would put it in the fridge. So if I made it today to serve, I would make it the same day I'm serving it, and then I actually would put it in the fridge because I worry about cream cheese, sour cream.
100%. Yeah. So then you've got the option of, you know, serving it on the side or icing it as you go along.
Yeah, I think so. That's why this size is better than the giant one for a lot of people because it's not as big.
I think that's pretty awesome.
Fantastic. I think that's like well done, Angelique. We're going to wrap up now, and I could actually keep chatting to you for another hour or two.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again.
But we have to go and eat cake, and I just want to thank you so much for your time today. She's amazing.
It's a pleasure.
For sharing your recipe with all of us. I think everyone's very excited to go and try this themselves.
And I hope, I hope you do because I hope I didn't make it look too difficult because it really is a super easy cake. It's not difficult. It sounds so fancy and lots of ingredients.
It does have lots of ingredients, but most of them you'll have at home, and it's except for the canned pineapple. But you know, that's something you should always now put in your pantry so you can make it at any time. So thank you, Angelique, and I'd just like to thank all of you for being with us again this morning. And just to remind you that 11 a.m. on Thursday, I will be in my kitchen making these really fantastic biscotti.
And Mandy's off to great carrots.
And that is in preparation for next Thursday, the 23rd of July, for our extravaganza in the kitchen. Pizza, pizza, Parmigiano, and Pavarotti. It's going to be amazing. So sign up for that. And thank you, everyone, and have a really great rest of the week. Bye, all.
Fabulous.
See you later.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.